North Korea. Just the name conjures up images of a reclusive state, a nation shrouded in secrecy. But behind the propaganda and military parades lies a human story, one often overlooked. This is the story of North Korean soldiers, young men and women thrust into a system that demands absolute obedience and loyalty. Their lives are harsh, their training brutal, and their futures uncertain. And now, with rumors swirling of their involvement in the Ukrainian conflict, their plight demands our attention. These are not the robotic figures we see marching in unison. They are sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, caught in a system they didn't choose. Their stories are rarely told, their voices rarely heard. But today, we try to shed light on their experiences, to understand the challenges they face both at home and now, potentially, on a foreign battlefield. North Korea's military history is long and complex, rooted in a legacy of conflict and survival. From the Korean War to the present day, the nation has always maintained a formidable military presence. The soldiers are trained rigorously, often starting from a young age. They are taught to be resilient, to endure hardships, and to remain loyal to the regime above all else. Propaganda plays a significant role in shaping their worldview. They are constantly reminded of the threats posed by external enemies and the importance of their role in defending the nation. Despite the harsh conditions, moments of camaraderie and brotherhood are common among the soldiers. They form bonds that help them cope with the challenges they face. Many of these soldiers have families back home, loved ones they think about constantly. The letters they write are filled with hopes and dreams, a glimpse into their inner lives. When deployed to foreign lands, these soldiers face new challenges. They must navigate unfamiliar terrains, cultures, and often hostile environments. The rumors of their involvement in the Ukrainian conflict have brought their plight into the spotlight. These soldiers, far from home, are now part of a larger geopolitical struggle. As we delve deeper into their stories, we see the human side of these soldiers. They are not just instruments of the state, but individuals with dreams, fears, and aspirations. For those who manage to return home, the transition is not always easy. They carry with them the scars of their experiences, both physical and emotional. Some choose to defect, seeking a life of freedom and opportunity. Their journeys are fraught with danger, but their stories of resilience and hope inspire us all. Today, we honor the forgotten soldiers of North Korea. We acknowledge their struggles, their sacrifices, and their humanity. In understanding their stories, we take a step towards a more compassionate world. Let us remember that behind the facade of a reclusive state, there are real people with real stories waiting to be heard. The world watches as the conflict in Ukraine rages on, a stark reminder of the human cost of war. The images of destroyed cities, displaced families, and the endless suffering of civilians paint a grim picture of the reality on the ground. And if reports are to be believed, North Korean soldiers might soon be thrown into this cauldron of violence. The potential involvement of North Korean troops adds a new layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. But one question looms large: are they ready? The readiness of these soldiers is under scrutiny, as they may face challenges unlike any they have encountered before. North Korea's military boasts a large number of personnel, often showcased in grand parades and military displays. These displays are meant to project strength and unity, but the reality behind the numbers is more complex. Beneath the surface, there are issues that are not immediately visible. Years of isolation and sanctions have taken their toll. The economic hardships faced by the country have inevitably affected its military capabilities. Their equipment is often outdated, with many of their tanks, vehicles, and weaponry being relics of the past. Their training focused on outdated tactics. The drills and strategies they practice may not be sufficient for modern warfare. The modern battlefield, with its advanced weaponry and fluid battle lines, presents a dynamic and ever-changing environment, is a far cry from the scenarios they are likely prepared for. The challenges they will face are unprecedented, and their ability to adapt will be crucial. The international community watches closely, with world leaders expressing concern and deliberating on their next moves. Humanitarian aid organizations are ramping up efforts to provide relief to those affected, but the scale of the crisis is overwhelming. History has shown us that wars are unpredictable, and the outcomes often hinge on factors beyond mere numbers and equipment. The resilience of soldiers and the human spirit in the face of adversity will be tested like never before. As the conflict evolves, the future of warfare and global security remains uncertain. The world holds its breath, hoping for a resolution but preparing for the worst. Diplomatic efforts and peace talks continue, but the path to peace is fraught with challenges. Amidst the chaos, there remains a glimmer of hope that one day, peace will prevail, and the rebuilding process can begin. Communication is crucial on any battlefield. Orders need to be relayed, information shared, and strategies coordinated. But for North Korean soldiers potentially entering the Ukrainian theater, this vital aspect of warfare presents a significant hurdle. The language barrier is immense. Russian and Korean are vastly different languages, with little common ground. While some translators might be present, the fluidity and nuance required for effective battlefield communication are likely to be absent. This lack of understanding could lead to confusion, misinterpretation of orders, and potentially deadly consequences. Modern warfare is as much about technology as it is about manpower. Drones dominate the skies, sophisticated electronic warfare systems jam communications, and guided missiles strike with pinpoint accuracy. This is a far cry from the realities of the North Korean military. Years of sanctions have hampered North Korea's ability to acquire and develop advanced military technology. Their soldiers are likely trained on outdated equipment, ill-prepared for the realities of facing a modern military force. This technological gap puts them at a significant disadvantage, making them vulnerable to attacks they might not even see coming. Section 5. A clash of cultures. Military effectiveness relies heavily on cohesion, on units working seamlessly together towards a common goal. But what happens when armies with vastly different cultures, languages, and doctrines are expected to cooperate? This is the challenge facing North Korean and Russian forces, should they find themselves fighting side by side. The Russian military, with its own traditions and hierarchies, operates very differently from the North Korean army. There's likely to be a clash of styles, a lack of understanding of each other's tactics and procedures. This friction could lead to breakdowns in communication, delays in decision-making, and ultimately, hinder their effectiveness on the battlefield. Section 6. Strangers in a strange land. Imagine being transported to a foreign country, the landscape alien, the climate unforgiving. Now imagine being expected to fight in this unfamiliar environment. This is the potential reality facing North Korean soldiers deployed to Ukraine. The terrain of Ukraine, with its vast plains and river systems, is a far cry from the mountainous and forested landscapes of North Korea. This unfamiliarity could prove to be a tactical disadvantage, making it difficult for them to navigate, take cover, or effectively engage the enemy. They would be fighting not just the opposing force, but the land itself. Section 7. A technological divide. The modern battlefield is increasingly reliant on technology, and drones have emerged as a game changer. These unmanned aerial vehicles provide real-time intelligence, surveillance, and even strike capabilities. But for North Korean soldiers, encountering drone warfare would be a jarring experience. Their lack of familiarity with this technology makes them particularly vulnerable. They might lack the training to detect, evade, or counter drone attacks. This technological gap further highlights the challenges they would face in a conflict where such technology plays a decisive role. Section 8. Pawns on a global chessboard. The deployment of North Korean soldiers to Ukraine, if it were to happen, would be about more than just the immediate conflict. It would represent a significant geopolitical development, one with far-reaching consequences. North Korea, often seen as a pariah state, would be aligning itself more closely with Russia, sending a clear signal to the West. This alliance of convenience raises concerns about the potential for escalation. It also highlights how regional conflicts can quickly draw in outside actors, turning battlefields into proxy arenas for larger geopolitical struggles. The stakes, in this case, go far beyond the borders of Ukraine. Section 9. A nation divided, soldiers forgotten. While the world focuses on the possibility of North Korean soldiers fighting abroad, it's important to remember the human cost of this situation. These soldiers, often seen as mere extensions of a regime, are individuals with dreams, fears, and families. They are thrust into conflicts far from home, in lands they know little about, facing dangers that are unimaginable to most. Back home, families remain in the dark, worried about their loved ones sent to a distant war. The anxiety is palpable, as they gather around radios, hoping for any news, any sign that their sons, brothers, and fathers are safe. The uncertainty gnaws at them, day and night, as they cling to hope in a sea of despair. The flow of information out of North Korea is tightly controlled, leaving families with little more than rumors and fear. The regime's iron grip on communication means that even the smallest piece of news is a precious commodity. In isolated villages, whispers and speculation fill the void left by the lack of concrete information, creating an atmosphere of perpetual unease. These soldiers, many of them conscripts serving out mandatory terms, are not just fighting for an ideology, but for survival. They are young men, often barely out of their teens, who have been conscripted into service with little choice in the matter. Their training is rigorous, their conditions harsh, and their futures uncertain. They march not just for their country, but for their very lives. They are products of a system that prioritizes obedience and sacrifice. From a young age, they are indoctrinated with the belief that their highest duty is to serve the state, to put the collective above the individual. Propaganda posters and indoctrination sessions reinforce this message, shaping their identities and their destinies. And as they potentially face the horrors of war, it is their humanity, their individual stories, that must not be forgotten. Each soldier has a story, a life that extends beyond the uniform. They have loved ones who wait for them, who pray for their safe return. In the midst of geopolitical tensions and military strategies, it is crucial to remember that these soldiers are human beings, deserving of empathy and understanding.